Hi guys, and welcome to another video on this channel. Today it's My Team Career Mode Season 2 Round 6. Around the Red Bull Ring in Austria. In the last season, around here we could score our only points of the whole season. We got 3 points in the sprint, and unfortunately we didn't get any points in the race. So yeah, we're looking to get some points in the race as well this year, and hopefully we can make it happen. And we signed a new sponsor for this weekend as well, as we reached acclaim level 15. We finally could add a third sponsor, so that this will help us to get even more money to upgrade the facilities faster and hopefully improve our car faster than without that money. And speaking of improving our facilities and car, we're looking to make maybe some upgrades on some of the facilities, but we only have 2.1 million, so that's not much to work with at the moment, because every upgrade is around 4 to 6 million, or some upgrades even in the 8 figures. But we have 3,300 R&D points, and we started a DRS upgrade and a drag reduction upgrade, which will both hopefully come in time for Austria. As we have a few weeks break between the last race and this one.
The department wants me to pass on their thanks for helping out.
And with the new sponsor, we are now getting even more than $1 million per week. So I decided to do a quality control upgrade on the aero facility. And both upgrades we started came in time for Austria. So that will hopefully help us to get some points. And as we go to the race weekend, you can see there will be rain for qualifying. It will pretty much be for all of Q2. Probably it will start at the end of Q1, and maybe the end of Q3 will be dry again, as it looks in the weather forecast. And we actually overtook Alpine in the performance index, and we're really close to Haas and Williams. We're pretty much in 1 pixel with both of them. And in the standings, we're still P8 in the driver standings and P5 in the constructors. And as we go into Q1, you can already see the rain is falling at the start of Q1. So we have to get a good lap in right now, or we will probably be out in Q1. and we get a purple first sector, which will definitely help us. Little bit of oversteer and had to correct a little bit into turn 3, as these conditions are really tricky and it's so easy to lose the car. And now through the middle sector we go. We are actually catching the Alpine ahead a little bit. We do a purple second sector as well, so we are on course for a very good lap now. And around the last corner we go. It was a decent lap, and we do a 107.8. Actually, Albon in the Williams did the fastest lap, and our teammate is 8 seconds off pace. Probably didn't go out early enough. And then as we go out at the end of Q2, our first lap on Inters put us on pole on previous on pole position for now. But as you can see, everyone else besides us is going out on softs. I went out on Inters, which I feel like it was a mistake, because it's still raining, but the track looks pretty wet, but it feels too dry for Inters, and now all we can do is push as hard as we can, because we can't go to box right now and we wouldn't get out in time for another lap. So now we're 1.4 seconds up on our previous time. And then into turn 4, I go a little bit too close to the edge on the apex and I invalidate the lap. But I have enough fuel to do a second lap. But as you can see now, the track is pretty much completely dry. So Inters were definitely the wrong choice. And I was actually lucky that I didn't invalidate the next lap at the exit of turn 9 there. But now, as everyone is just going quicker than us, we definitely need to find around 3.5 to 4 seconds on this lap. And the lockup into turn 3 doesn't really help by doing that. And now into turn 4 we go. We can't invalidate on this lap because then we will be out, but we get it really good, not really close to the apex with the left tire, but that's basically what I wanted. And then through the first sector we go. We are 3/10 up on Fittipaldi's time, so that's a good sign, I think. And hopefully we can keep it together through the last 2 sectors. We are 3 seconds up on our previous time. Around the last corner we go a little bit off track. Lucky to do not invalidate there. And with 3.1 seconds gained, we end up in P13, half a second off the top 10. We made the wrong choice with the tire. And in the end, it destroyed our qualifying. I think with the soft tire we would have easily gotten through to Q3. and with the car we have right now, maybe score the top 5 in the qualifying. But here we are out in P13. And hopefully we can move up a few places in the sprint. Maybe even score some points. And then hopefully start from a better position for the race. And then score some points as well. So now let's go to the grid for the sprint race and see what we can do. And hopefully it will be good enough for points.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Perez, Albon, Stroll, Gasly, Magnussen, Ocon, Fittipaldi, the owner driver, Sonoda, De Vries, Joe, Verstappen, Hamilton, Sargent, Bottas, Oscar Piastri and Teo Pourchaire. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
And now to the grid we go. 12 laps sprint race. We go to the soft tire. And hopefully we can get a good start. Overtake some medium runners. And then stay ahead of them at the end of the race. I think everyone else is on the medium tire. So we should be able to get a good start and overtake some people in the first laps. But then when our tires drop off, we hopefully can still defend the positions. And for some reason we got the parking wrong. I mean, we were at 0.1, so I don't really understand that. But it's okay, we get a good start. But then we don't really have any space to overtake the cars ahead. And in the end, we are unable to overtake anyone. Because Ocon closed the gap at the outside of turn 1. I wanted to go through there, but I couldn't, so I think we would have gained around 3 to 4 positions. But now we have to get into a rhythm and overtake as many people as we can. As we almost get ahead of Ocon, but at the exit he gets the better traction. And then I actually go wide and Fittipaldi goes side by side with us. into turn 6, but we can keep it in front around the outside. And now we have to overtake as many cars as possible, as we brake way too late into turn 3 on lap 2. And we go wide, and because of that Ocon switchbacks us, and Fittipaldi gets a chance to almost overtake us again. And then on to the next lap. This time we brake much earlier, but we hit the rear wheel of Ocon and break our front wing. So now we have to do 9 laps with the damaged front wing and get as many positions as possible as we overtook Ocon into the next corner. And then on lap 6 you can see the understeer. Into turn 6, Stroll went down our inside just because we couldn't keep the car at the apex. We just went so wide. And it doesn't really help to keep the positions. And then into lap 8, into turn 1, Tsunoda goes side by side with us. We can out traction him, but into turn 3 he could make it out, but no. But into turn 9 he goes side by side. We go a little bit wide off track and we lose 3 positions. And actually we can keep it around the outside of Ocon and keep it ahead. But now instead of fighting for P11 we fight for P13. And as we go wide through turn 1, now Ocon can overtake us, but we try to get back at him into turn 3 and we go down the inside and squeeze him off track a little bit and get back into P13. And now on the main straight, Tsunoda went really slow and his car was smoking, so yeah, he probably had an engine failure. And he keeps going to turn 1 and retires the car there. So that's 1 position gain for us. And we're in P12 now, so if we finish here we are gonna start tomorrow's race only 2 places away from the points. But Ocon still tries to attack me, and again we understeer and Ocon goes down our inside and we try to keep it around the outside, but we're just unable to stay ahead of him. And then Hamilton actually tried to move on us, and then into turn 9 we go down the inside of Ocon, squeeze him out, but Hamilton almost went down our inside into turn 10. And now into the last 2 corners we go. Hamilton tries it around the outside, but he can't go side by side. And then into the last corner we go a little bit wide. Hamilton goes down our inside and he finishes just ahead of us. We lost out by 55 thousandths to Hamilton. Yeah, really close one. But still 1 place lost for the starting grid in tomorrow's race. So we have to make up 1 more place. So let's go to the grid and see what we can do.
Beautiful Styrian Mountains for another chapter in the story of the Austrian Grand Prix. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Albon, Fernando Alonso, Perez, Sainz, Norris, Gasly, Stroll, Fittipaldi, Hamilton, the owner driver, Sargent, Verstappen, Bottas, Théo Pourchaire, Oscar Piastri, De Vries, Joe, Ocon, Magnussen and Yuki Tsunoda. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today.
Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me again for the Grand Prix.
Why don't we discuss Red Bull? We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
It doesn't look promising for them so far. And if the new regs have hit them as hard as we think, well, I suspect they may need a few late nights at the factory to get back on track.
So now to the grid for the race we go. We actually start in P12 because someone had got a grid penalty. And I decided to go for soft to mediums. A little bit different to the usual medium to hard on pretty much every other track. So yeah, I think Verstappen got an engine penalty because he's 2 places behind us. So that's gonna be really difficult to keep him behind, because he's just in a much faster car and he's probably a much faster driver than us. So we get the parking perfect. So now hopefully we can get a perfect start as well, which would really help us. And we actually get a good start, and then into turn 1 we go down the inside of Hamilton, but Sargent just goes round the outside of both of us, and Hamilton keeps it ahead of us. So now we're sandwiched by Hamilton and Verstappen, but into turn 2 we dive down the inside of Hamilton and Sargent and get into P11. So now we're just 1 position behind the points, and hopefully we can overtake 1 more car. But now Hamilton goes back ahead of us, and then at the end of lap 1 into the next lap, Fittipaldi ahead of us runs wide. We have to brake a little bit more than expected, and our rear wheels were blocking a little bit, and we had a little slide, but in the end it helped us to get ahead of Fittipaldi and Hamilton, and now we're in P10. But we got hit by Fittipaldi, but there was not really much he could do. Hamilton was at the inside of him. He couldn't really go more to the inside, but we didn't have much space on the outside either, so no one's fault really. It's just into turn 3 in, around Austria. 3 right is just not really possible. And then onto lap 3 we go down the inside of Norris and try to out-traction, but he can keep it round the outside, which will turn to the inside for him. But we still are side by side, and then he just gets ahead and covers us off. So we're still in P10 now. And we always have to look back a little bit because there's Hamilton and there's Verstappen. So we have to watch out for overtakes from behind. And then into turn 1 we go a little bit deep, but still can pull off the move on Norris. So into P9 we go, but now we have a 2-second gap ahead of us, which we have to close, but then into turn 3 we lock up and lose the position to Hamilton and Norris. And then into turn 4 we go down the inside of Norris again, but this time he can't keep it around the outside, so we are ahead of him in P10. But now Hamilton is in front of us, which can maybe help us with the DRS, but maybe not. And then into lap 6 my game crashed, and then when my game crashes and or even sometimes my PC just decides to close my game, and then when I join back into the game, I have no force feedback, so I always have to unplug the wheel and then reconnect it. And that's exactly what I did here. And then when I went to continue racing, I could shift up to 7th gear, and then my wheel just stopped reacting to anything I did. It stayed full throttle all the time. I couldn't shift, I couldn't brake, I couldn't go off the throttle or anything. My wheel just didn't do anything I wanted. It just didn't react. It stayed full throttle, and then I got disqualified because I didn't move. So yeah, I don't really know what happened there with the wheel. But it ended my race. So yeah, that's very unfortunate. I feel like I could have gotten some points. It was a great fight for P9 to 11 with Hamilton and Norris. But in the end, it ended because of a failure of my wheel. So yeah, again, like really often in the last season, a DNF where I couldn't really do anything. And in the end, Albon went on to get on the podium, I think in P2, and Hamilton got into P3, and Leclerc ended up winning the race. But Albon and Hamilton on the podium is really a little surprise, because Hamilton was in P10 when I DNF'd, and Albon is in a Williams, so yeah, not really what you would expect on the podium. And Fernando Alonso still leads the driver standings, and yeah, Alonso is looking really strong this season. So yeah, because of the DNF, we of course lost the rivalry for this race, but we're still by 5 points ahead, so that should be still winnable. But yeah, it's really annoying to have a DNF like that. I mean, if I crashed the car, it's still annoying, but at least it's my fault then. But with this, I couldn't do anything. But yeah, I hope it won't happen again, and see you guys next time. Goodbye.